Joining me right now is Virginia Congressman Ben Cline. He's a member of the Budget, Appropriations, and Judiciary Committees. Congressman, all of this is piling up. This is all Banana Republic stuff, attacking, prosecuting your political enemy, censoring information. Why can't the American people have the real story around the COVID vaccines, and why is the White House censoring all of this free speech?
Well, as you heard, the White House doesn't trust Americans to make their own decisions, and they think that they know best what is fact and what Americans should be allowed to know. So this is very explosive. This conspiracy between the White House and private sector businesses to decide what American people should be able to say and how they should be able to exercise their free speech goes to the core of what our constitutional rights are, and this White House's effort to violate them.
It sure does. Kelly, jump in.
Oh, Congressman, we've been seeing the Twitter files, the Facebook files, and as we were just talking about, the American people, I think, are getting very frustrated when it comes to transparency. You've been holding hearings on the weaponization of government. What are you actually going to do to ensure that the American people feel that their speech is protected online?
Well, the transparency is important, and there's a reason why Mark Zuckerberg almost got held in contempt of Congress last week. He was refusing to hand over these files, and now we know why. It's because it was an indictment, essentially, of their conspiracy with the White House, working with the liberals, the leftists in government to limit free speech and to control the narrative. Think about what COVID wrecked lives. The government's overreach wrecked them even more. It led to the lockdowns in schools and people not being able to not only go out, but not to be able to express themselves at home on social media. So this was really detrimental, and the Congress is going to respond with legislation to make it protected ability to express your views when you're online.
Well, when? I think the American people are beginning to get frustrated with you and your colleagues as well, with all due respect, sir. We've got 170 suspicious activity reports against the Biden family. How many people in America get one suspicious activity report? This family got 170, plus you've got whistleblower testimony telling us that they were in the room when Joe Biden was on the phone talking with foreign business partners, accepting millions of dollars from now what is clear to be America's #1 adversary. Are you endorsing an inquiry into an impeachment at this point? When are you guys going to start moving?
You're absolutely right to be mad. The American people are furious. And fortunately, those of us in the Freedom Caucus, those of us on House Judiciary, are pushing our leadership to take action. And so you will see Judiciary moving in that direction to make sure that we protect the free speech rights of Americans online. Now, we're also going to follow the facts where they lead with the Hunter Biden investigation. And, I wanted to talk about Devin Archer and his statements before the weaponization committee, the idea that Hunter Biden was suggesting that he buy burner phones, the idea that there was so much that the president was involved in. The Judiciary Committee does need to get involved, and we will follow the facts where they lead if that leads to an impeachment inquiry.
What did you learn from Devin Archer? Look, we're just wondering on how long it's going to take while a former president gets indicted 3 times. Trump is now facing an unprecedented 3 indictments, this time for obstruction of justice related to the January 6th Capitol riot. It's coming one day after Hunter Biden's associate, Devin Archer, told the House Oversight Committee that then Vice President Joe Biden participated in at least 20 phone calls with foreign business partners. Special counsel Jack Smith defended the indictment. Even so, watch this.
As described in the indictment, it was fueled by lies. Lies by the defendant targeted at obstructing a bedrock function of the U.S. government, the nation's process of collecting, counting, and certifying the results of the presidential election.
So what's the crime here, Congressman, that Trump said that the election was stolen?
Well, those of us in Virginia know this prosecutor because he went after our governor, Bob McDonnell, got convictions for accepting gifts that were later overturned by the Supreme Court. So this prosecutor does have a history. This weaponization of the Department of Justice, pursuing political ends, targeting their political opponents, using the levers of power. This is nothing new for the left. Saul Alinsky put it forward in Rules for Radicals. This is something the left has been doing for some time. So now that they don't have the January 6th Commission anymore, now you see them moving to weaponizing the DOJ.
Well, real quick on other issues, September 30th, the government is running out of money. We just got a downgrade on the U.S. government from Fitch. What are you going to do about that? Should we expect a continuing resolution, or will the government shut down?
Well, nobody wants to shut down. We want to work to get these appropriations bills done, but we are insisting that we spend less. You know, the idea that we have already spent over $500 billion in deficit spending over just the last 6 months, and we're on track to have over $1 trillion in deficits added to the debt. It's just unsustainable, and no wonder Fitch has downgraded us, because we don't have a solution in place. The Republicans have a solution, but the Democrats just want more of the same spending. They're Thelma and Louise driving off the cliff, pushing the gas, taking us over that cliff. And, you know, the American people are the ones suffering through higher inflation and higher mortgage rates.
And you've got an op-ed in The Hill, quote, close big government loopholes, stop waste and fraud. You're talking about the financial condition of this country as interest rates go higher, and carrying that debt is becoming increasingly expensive.
And the idea that somehow there are loopholes in the law that still exist that enable people to become eligible for food stamps without having income tests, without having asset tests, it's absurd. So these states should not be able to construct ways for taxpayers to skirt the system and millionaires to essentially become eligible for food stamps. We need to solve the problem.
All right, Congressman.